Hello and welcome to our first film using our unique Typhoon Q500 Plus drone. Actually, this story started during the summer of 2015 with this little fella. A tiny flying 2-megapixel camera with only the basic controls. It had no live view to see what you were filming, no hover capability, no GPS positioning, and it was so small even a breath of wind would bounce the picture all over the screen. So this year we retired it for fairly obvious reasons. As you can see, we've moved on to a slightly larger beastie with a few additional extras. This is our unique Q500 Plus Typhoon. It comes with a lot more features to make flying more relaxing, but we had a problem on the day it arrived. We had to wait a couple of days until we finally had the opportunity to drive a few miles to open moorland and take it out on its maiden flight. With built-in hover and GPS control for starters, flying became a lot easier and allows us to concentrate more on the subject matter. The added stability provided by the 3-axis camera mount allows the 4K camera to capture very fine detail. The ability to rotate the camera angle between horizontal and vertical views can also allow for dramatic intros to your films. Now, I started flying a variety of aircraft in the 60s when all we had was analog control. Today's modern digital controllers make movement in any direction a very smooth operation, and the 3-axis camera gimbal takes care of any unwanted movement due to gusts of wind or twitchy pilot control. The drone can make you the point of interest as you fly around, or it can follow you if you decide to move position. It's like having a tripod dolly at 200 feet. At this point, we had to give the ground crew something to film, and with the drone being black, it's a lot easier to see against the sky. So, whilst we're up here, we might as well take a short trip around and admire the autumn colours from a new angle. Let's add another 50 feet to the altitude to impress the audience of dog walkers we seem to be attracting. Now we'll see how well the onboard altitude and GPS positioning controls handle a 10-mile-an-hour breeze. Well, 10 minutes seemed a reasonable amount of time to hover, and the bit we edited out looked as if we'd spliced in a still picture, so it's time to land. Even though the Typhoon has a perfectly good return to home and auto land feature, this must be where we say, don't try this at home. Waldridge Fell is an extensive area of lowland heath. That is, it's moorland less than 300 metres above sea level, and it contains heather, bilberry and moorland grasses, and as you can see, it looks stunning in late summer and autumn when the purple heather is in flower. Lowland heath is globally rare and makes it especially important to manage this area carefully. The fell has had many uses over the years: grazing, part of the Prince Bishop's hunting chase, and even a military training ground during the Napoleonic Wars. Extensive coal mining took place from the early 1800s, and Waldridge Pitton Village community thrived right up until 1963. In fact, the present car parks are named after the rows of houses that once stood there. At this point, I was aware of voices coming over the 20-foot ridge behind us, and someone shouted across and seriously asked us if we'd seen what we might have thought was a UFO skimming the landscape. We hadn't, but our eye in the sky had seen something crash about 100 yards away over the top of another steep rise. It was a DJI Phantom being flown with a total disregard for the CAA rules about drones. Firstly, be aware of people and animals, and secondly, keep it in line of sight at all times. This is the type of pilot who thinks they can fly by the camera view on their phone screens, and are the type that are responsible for giving careful drone owners a bad name. Further shouting made me lose concentration for a split second, so I decided to fly to a safer distance and altitude and see what these clowns would do next. They really were considerate. At least they reminded me I should land in case their signal caused me to crash or have a flyaway. By now they'd retrieved their craft, replaced a broken prop, and were buzzing around us at head height, chasing their own dog for some action shots. All the while, the pilot didn't once take his eyes off the control screen to see where exactly his craft was. He was more concerned in telling us how he'd caught some interesting shots whilst flying over his neighbour's gardens, and how he'd almost been caught at the local airport trying to film a light aircraft at 1400 feet. What an idiot. That was it. Enough was enough. Several dog walkers were routed to the spot, trying to decide if they and their animals were in danger if they continued the walk, so we brought our drone down whilst this clown decided to change his battery. He did remind us to be careful where we were going as he was about to start another flight. However, I think my comment of how effective his drone would be as a hemorrhoid remover prevented him starting the motors until we actually landed. So after another successful catch, we decided to leave him there. On a brighter note, as we left the car park, we did see him try a catch landing, only to throw his drone about 10 feet, which looked as though it might have cost him a new set of props and possibly a finger or two. Well, since then, every day we've tried to put aside to go for another flight, we seem to have chosen times that have proved less than ideal for the task. Heavy rain, winds over 20 miles an hour, thunderstorms, more rain, more wind, and still more rain. But we live in hope of some dry, calm days to come. Thank you for watching.